The following presentation is paid for by the government of Japan and produced by Nikkei Visual Images. The opinions, views and claims expressed do not reflect those of CNBC.
Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. The country has a growing economy led by a generation born after the Vietnam War. What's more, located on the main overland transport route of the Southern Economic Corridor to Bangkok, Thailand, Ho Chi Minh City is also attracting global interest as the gateway into the massive economic zone of ASEAN. But Vietnam is still primarily comprised of labor-intensive industries. If the economy continues to grow at its current pace and labor costs rise, there are concerns that companies may head to other countries where wages are lower, putting a brake on industrial development. To avert such a scenario, nurturing domestic companies is necessary. And for that, it's imperative to foster human resources. Also indispensable is infrastructure. We look at what Vietnam is doing in the areas of both human resources and infrastructure as part of its efforts to build a more prosperous and powerful country. Our first stop in Ho Chi Minh City is near the Opera House. It's where a metro station is currently under construction. Involved in the work are about 200 people. The overwhelming majority are Vietnamese. Ho Chi Minh City is where Vietnam is building its first metro system under the supervision of Japanese construction companies. This project was awarded by the city's Management Authority for Urban Railways to a joint venture of Shimizu Corporation and Maeda Corporation. Ensuring the safety of locally employed workers and overseeing the operation is the role of the engineers from Japan.
Otherwise, when we do the quality, to check this layer by layer, it covers some hair or void.
Of the 8 planned metro lines in Ho Chi Minh City, construction of Line 1 is being carried out with the assistance of the Japanese government. It will have a total length of about 20 kilometers and connect 14 stations in the city and the suburbs. The construction cost is about $20 billion, most of which will be funded through low-interest loans provided by the Japanese government through JICA, the Japan International Cooperation Agency. Toshifumi Sakai of JICA explains the objective of the project.
In the case of Vietnam, the country has experienced very long periods of conflict, such as the Vietnam War, so the building of infrastructure has been extremely delayed. Also, Vietnam has a tremendous number of motorcycles. It's an age now in which there's 1 motorcycle for every 2 people. Motorization will speed up, and if average incomes rise, the number of cars will also keep growing. Even under current circumstances, there's quite severe congestion in Ho Chi Minh City during rush hours. What's happening can also be seen in the history of neighboring countries. So, as a solution, we believe a high-speed mass transport system will become necessary.
The project is said to be extremely complex. Just a stone's throw away is the Saigon River, and the ground is prone to waterlogging. What's more, the area is home to many historic colonial-era buildings, which are said to have extremely weak foundations. In the project, numerous measures are being taken to avoid affecting nearby structures.
Right now, we're measuring ground surface subsidence. The citizens have a very strong affinity for the historic structures in the area, so we're carrying out our work with extreme care.
非常に細心の注意を払って作業してます。
Data from various places are aggregated at the central office.
これがですね、
This is real-time data from the ongoing excavation at the Opera House. We monitor the situation and check for ground surface subsidence, movement of the walls of structures, and other aspects.
Measures to avoid affecting nearby buildings are also found in the construction method itself. The metro station is being built using an inverted construction method, a specialty of Japanese construction companies.
It's an inverted construction method of constructing a structure from the top down.
Typically, underground structures are constructed by carrying out a massive excavation and building upwards from the bottom layer. But here, they repeat a process of excavating gradually and building the structure from the top floor all the way to the bottom floor. Since the excavation is carried out with the walls supported by the floor slabs of the underground station, the impact on the surrounding environment can be minimized. What's more, under the planned route, trains will run on elevated tracks for most of the way. Construction of the elevated section is being overseen by a consortium of Sumitomo Corporation of Japan and local general contractor Cienco 6. On this day, work to connect the piers of a bridge with girders is being carried out. Here, they're using a method called precast segmental construction, a first in Vietnam. It involves prefabricating various parts at a factory so they can be assembled on-site. It's said to reduce the amount of work needed to be carried out on-site and improves efficiency. We visited a factory where the girder segments are being made. Here, they first assemble steel frames. Then concrete is poured on them to create a single segment.
With this bigger facility, we can make 11 segments a day.
The Japanese engineers keep their eyes peeled, especially on the condition of the concrete. They say temperature control is key.
31デグリーね。
Depending on the temperature, the quality of the concrete during casting changes. We make sure that the temperature of the concrete is 35 degrees Celsius or less every time.
Thorough temperature management makes the concrete easier to process and results in high-quality segments. The engineers make sure that everyone here adheres to this commitment to quality. The carriages and other railway equipment for the number 1 line are being supplied by Japanese manufacturer Hitachi.
I don't think we need those, do we? I think the expectations are quite rightly very high on our new metro system, particularly based on our Japanese products, which are very reliable and very customer friendly. So the expectations are very high. We've had to modify certain things, but I'm sure the travelling public will be very happy with the solution that they get when we go into service.
The first ever metro line for the people of Vietnam. What are their expectations?
I use the bus to go to school. The ride usually takes about 30 minutes, but during the rush hour, I have no clue how long it'll take. I hope the metro is built soon.
If they put in place a proper metro schedule, then it'll help relieve traffic congestion, and the lives of citizens will improve greatly.
In Ho Chi Minh City so far, the Japanese government has provided assistance in a number of construction projects, such as the East-West Highway and Saigon River Tunnel. But expectations are especially high for the city's Metro Line number 1, which is seen to symbolize Vietnam's economic development. Construction is being carried out with the aim of completing it by 2020. Assistance from Japan isn't limited to the financial and technological. This is the Kaizen Yoshida School, operated by worker dispatch company Esuhai. It was set up in 2006 as a school to train technical interns who can be dispatched to factories in Japan. Vietnam has set a goal of becoming an industrialized country by 2020. Indispensable to that end is the cultivation of human resources. By teaching the technical skills and know-how of industrialized countries such as Japan, business schools like this aim to nurture people who can contribute to industrial development. At the Kaizen Yoshida School, about 1,150 young Vietnamese are preparing to go to Japan as interns by studying conversational Japanese, business etiquette, as well as specialized terminology used in factories. Noticeable are classes in which students remain standing. Why is this?
People sent to factories as interns mostly do work that involves standing for a long time. We wanted them to practice first, so that's why we introduced standing desks.
Japan has what's called an industrial training and technical internship program. Under this system, people from developing countries are invited to Japan for as long as 3 years to acquire technical skills and learn about advanced technologies. The aim is to help cultivate human resources capable of leading the economic development of their countries. Worker dispatch company Esuhai, which runs the Kaizen Yoshida School, trains and sends about 1,000 young people in Vietnam to Japan every year. The hope is that such educational facilities will help build a bridge of understanding and cooperation between Vietnam and Japan. The school's founder, Lê Lôn Son, explains.
If we properly provide good human resources to companies, those companies will be happy and they'll want to hire more people from Vietnam. Then, once those people acquire enough skills, they can set up companies in Vietnam. That's the type of good result this will lead to. There are lots of jobs in Japan, but not enough workers. Vietnam has many people, but doesn't have enough jobs. Add the two sides and we'll be really strong. If we can build a joint venture type of relationship, both countries will be able to contribute more to the world.
The motivation of young Vietnamese who want to work in Japan is high. To ensure as much as possible that they don't struggle in Japan, this school carries out in-depth mental training as well.
The boss rebukes you. It's hard to bear, so you're rebuked, but you shouldn't feel dejected. Surely the problem lies within you.
We visited one company in Japan accepting students from the school. It's based in Kodama, Saitama. There are currently 8 technical interns working at Katsuden Architect.
Take care not to catch cold and wash your hands and gargle.
Their core products are staircases for single-family homes. As they're made of steel, various parts are welded together. The beautiful finish achieved by making the welds as unnoticeable as possible comes from the company's strong technical expertise, which is considered among the top in Japan. Supporting the manufacturing process are the technical interns from Vietnam.
やってるの見て
Watch carefully how it's done.
They work here for 3 years, acquiring skills through practical training and classes before returning to their country.
置かないと危ない。
Katsuten Architect President Kiyoshige Sakata says they're accepting more Vietnamese interns than 4 years ago.
If I ask, for example, isn't there a problem here? The Vietnamese interns will ask what the problem is and listen properly. And when I explain in greater detail, they'll understand. Their thirst for knowledge and motivation are so strong, you just can't compare them to Japanese workers.
Nguyen Phu Koa is one such intern. He is 22 years old and comes from Gia Lai province in the central highlands of Vietnam. From about 10 months ago, he has been working as a technical intern at this factory.
Push against it properly. Watch your hands.
Under the supervision of Japanese engineers, he operates equipment to process parts, rounds angular parts in a method called beveling, and is responsible for other work related to welding. One day, Mr. Sakata decides to take him to the company's showroom.
やってるのがここだよね。わかるよね。
In supervising workers, Mr. Sakata emphasizes the importance of seeing things from the user's perspective. How is one's work connected to aspects such as visual beauty and safety? He uses finished products to instruct his workers and raise their awareness.
ここの部分も
You were grinding this part too. This, for example. We grind this so that it doesn't protrude. And it isn't dangerous if small children bump their heads against it.
危なくないように削ってたと。
おかえりなさい。お疲れ。はい、お疲れ。
In the evening, we visited Koa's dormitory. In a room provided by the company, he lives with 2 others. They cook most of their meals. Back in Vietnam, Koa is the second oldest in a family of 5. The family business is farming. They are by no means considered financially well off. In Japan, he tries to save as much of his income as possible to send back home. Many trainees help support their families while learning new skills. Back in Vietnam, another worker dispatch organization called LOD Human Resource Development Corporation offers opportunities for people to acquire technical skills in the country.
học tập được cái cách
Its chairman, Vu Kon Bin, gives his view on Japan's industrial trainee and technical internship program.
tập sinh. Như vậy thì
When interns work in Japan and come back,
quay về
they become a high-quality workforce.
lao động
That's because interns study during their time in Japan, absorbing knowledge before returning.
trong quá trình
Another big aspect is that they contribute to their families, their own selves,
gia đình
and to the economy for society.
cho xã hội. Thì đây cũng là cái nguồn
It becomes a big source of income,
vào cái công cuộc
helping to relieve poverty and to resolve various social problems. You could say, for the Vietnamese economy,
phải nói rằng là
this program is extremely
Việt
significant.
Nam phải nói là rất lớn.
This is the LOD Vocational College of Industrial Technologies. It's in a suburb about a 2-hour drive from Hanoi. With a capacity for 9,000 students, it's a business school where everyone lives on campus. We were guided through the college by advisor Norio Azami. While the sheer size of the place is impressive, what stand out are the well-equipped facilities built specifically to provide training in the fields of welding and construction.
This is the occupation training area. Today, the students are using actual scaffolds and rebar and getting practical training in carpentry, plastering, and other work.
At this training area, the students undergo practical training and gain experience in various techniques and technologies used at construction sites in Japan. What's more,
this is an actual wood-framed house typically seen in Japan. The interns build it, put up the outer walls, and even work on the interior. This is all part of the class.
as an advisor to the school, Mr. Azami teaches many of the subjects here, such as welding.
Do it slower.
Mr. Azami worked for 47 years in the welding field. Involved in the repair work of a U.S. aircraft carrier in the past, he's an expert on shipbuilding techniques and technologies in Japan, as well as around the world. Mr. Azami started taking on the role of supervising technical interns around 2004. As his friendship with them grew, he decided he wanted to dedicate his life after retirement to teaching people in Vietnam. We visited him during a class that he considers especially important.
Today we'll be studying what 5S means.
This class is on the term 5S that's applied in the manufacturing and service industries to promote the maintenance and improvement of the work environment. 5S is a concept that originated in Japan, and a strict adherence to it, such as improving visibility in the workplace, is said to help clarify problems and issues.
Japan is a country where people who want to make a product that's #1 in the world will first say they can't do that unless the workplace is neat and clean. That's how you make a #1 product.
Mr. Azami has gained the complete trust of the students.
He's a dedicated teacher.
He's dedicated and cares about people.
They're the same as my own children after all. When they say goodbye and leave for Japan, we're all in tears. I'm affected as well. I also shed tears. It's universal. Whichever country I go to in the world, I want to help people acquire applicable techniques. Ultimately, I believe that leads to a kind of contribution to local communities in Vietnam.
People from various other Asian countries also undergo training at Japanese companies. Many return home and join companies where they can put the skills they acquired to use, taking on leadership roles. In recent years, more than a few former interns have returned to their countries and applied their know-how to start businesses. About a 2-hour drive from Ho Chi Minh City is Lo Nan Province. We visited a factory there. This is Don Van Tai. After spending 3 years in Japan as a technical intern, he set up a plastic molding factory here in 2011. They make toys, such as miniature cars and other plastic products.
They're products for children, so we make products with a focus on safety that won't cause injury when handled.
The factory has been recognized in Vietnam as a maker of high quality and safe products, and it says orders from overseas are also growing.
When I went to Japan to study, I felt the Japanese products looked attractive and were durable. Every product is made with care. In terms of both appearance and quality, they're outstanding when compared to similar products. So my aim is to work hard so that we can make such products as well. And if we can sell those in the Vietnamese market, I'll be able to fulfill my dream.
There was a total of 8 employees. Aside from Thai, all are locally hired. He explains to them what the focus on quality he learned about in Japan means.
When you're working, check the product well and try to spot the defective ones.
In this way, Vietnamese people who studied and acquired Japanese techniques return home and pass on their knowledge to local workers. That ripple effect appears to be spreading. And at the same time, motivated by the examples set by these earlier interns, students in Vietnam who hope to study in Japan are pursuing big dreams.
When I come back from Japan, I want to continue working in the rebar fabrication field.
I plan to work at a printing company and hope to become a manager one day.
If and when the Olympics are held in Vietnam, I want to be involved in making stadiums, the athletes' village, gymnasiums, and other useful structures.
Vietnam has emerged as one of the key production centers for Japanese companies in Southeast Asia, following Thailand and Malaysia. There have also been remarkable improvements in the standard of living. It could be said that the driving force is the cultivation of both people and goods. If this continues, and infrastructure such as that for logistics is put in place, the country may enter the next phase of its economic growth.
Châu, tay chân bự nha.
The preceding presentation was paid for by the government of Japan and produced by Nikkei Visual Images. The opinions, views, and claims expressed do not reflect those of CNBC.